same rate as mobile consoles or the handhelds, right? And that neither of them have a future, because the way of the future is going to be the deployment via the cloud, regardless of what kind of a platform you utilize. Guys, I don't know how easy and quick that's going to be to come to pass. But if it does, it's not a stretch to say it's going to happen first to the handhelds. It's going to cannibalize them first before it does to the home market. Those consoles are going to get torn up a lot slower than the handheld market gets torn up by a cloud deployment. So I just want you to think about that, because that lends us to my conversation. So I want to take a step back. And I want to say, guys, I want you to think a little bit more outside the box. Think a little bit more on a global level here, right? We're talking about market transitions. Now, some of you mentioned, for example, the difference between the NES and the Super Nintendo. Well, I want you to think about that, guys. The Super Nintendo debuts in America in 1985, right? The Super Nintendo is released in America, it's either late 1990 or 1991. I forget which one. I think it was 1990. Anyway, the point is we have a good 5 to 6 years between those launches, right? Now, even if you had the idea that upgrade was nothing but an upgrade, and that it didn't demonstrate anything that was kind of radical departure from the previous platform, even if you thought that, it took 5 years. 5 years between those consoles. I want you to sit there and think about this. I've been looking to get another mobile phone because my phone is 2 years old. 2 years. That's an eternity, right? 2 years old. I want to get a new phone. I was very excited. I want to wait for the dual cores. So now the dual cores are out for Android. There's a lot of different players here. I've been evaluating a lot of different phones, thinking about it. And I haven't bought one yet. I'm very, very close. But what I found was that almost I was ready to go click buy, and all of a sudden I see all the big manufacturers, HTC, Motorola with Google, right? All these people are now saying that within the next 6 months, by April, we're going to have quad-core Android phones. 6 months, not 6 years, not 5 years, not 2 years. 6 months. Okay? Now think about what that means, guys. That means this market is moving so fast, it is not comparable to anything you've ever seen in your life, right? The PC evolved very quickly. And we all know how the PC wars in the late 90s and the early 2000s went, where, as soon as I bought my brand new GeForce, it was going to be outdated because of the new Radeon, or vice versa, right? And if you keep going down that, we all know how that kind of played out. And we're in an even faster moving market now. It's so much more quick in terms of its deployment. It's unbelievable. Apple has virtually an entirely new phone platform every single year, and they are the ones that drive this cycle. For better or for worse, Apple drives the cycle. Okay? That means they're ahead of the market transition, and it is a fast and furious one. Therefore, I want to raise this possibility to you guys. My answer to this question is that I think it is entirely foreseeable that in 5 years, 5 years is an eternity in this market, in 5 short years, you could absolutely see the complete eradication of all handheld gaming devices from Nintendo and PlayStation. And what you'd instead might see is either failed launches by them to try to compete in a desperate attempt to get back on the bandwagon that they've been avoiding the entire time. Or, as many of you talked about, the ideas of partnerships. Being able to say, hey, we'll work with you, HTC, to put Super Mario Brothers on your devices, right? I know they've had bad experience with that before, but I don't think that's going to be outside the question, guys. I don't. I think it's absolutely inside the realm of possibility. We are looking at a market that moves ridiculously quickly. What can PlayStation? What can Nintendo do to stem this tide? Many of you are going to hate this answer, but I think the most innovative answer to this question might be They need to look at a company also not known for its innovation, but I think that has the right idea when it comes to this, and that is Microsoft. Not because there's going to be an Xbox phone anytime soon. There will not be. I don't think that's even a part of the roadmap at all. But what they are doing is they are saying the platform that you use for your console, the platform you use for your PC, the platform you use for your mobile phone should be exactly the same. It should be exactly the same. Why are we going to differentiate between the experiences that people can have by virtue of the limitation of their console or what device they have? And instead, you have Windows Mobile, which syncs seamlessly to the Xbox Live platform. You have Xbox Live that links seamlessly to the Xbox platform. You have the new refreshed Windows Live that's now Xbox Live that goes to the Windows PC for gaming. And all of a sudden, you see that Microsoft has a better positioning in this market than anybody else does. Not because they sell the most phones, because they don't. They sell the least amount, I think. Anyway, I have to go look at that statistics. I don't really know that offhand. Sorry, I shouldn't make claims I don't know. Anyway, the point is they sell what I think to be the fewest number of phones. But they have a fully integrated platform. They are banking on the platform, guys. They are banking on the cloud. They are banking on the fact that you want to be connected in each of these different platforms and not disparate, which is exactly what Nintendo's tact has been since 1990, since the release of the Game Boy, right? It's been, or 89, with the release of the Game Boy. It's exactly the same. Your mobile experience is your mobile experience. Your console experience is your console experience. You might have similar characters, but let's face it, those are two different things. Microsoft has eschewed that idea. They said, forget it. See you later. What we want to do is we want to have the same platform that everything runs on, and it runs on it seamlessly. PlayStation is running to catch up to that concept, and I think they're trying to execute. I think one of the reasons the Vita is taking so long, and why I think it's getting more and more anticipation, is because I think PlayStation is to the point, Sony is now to the point where they'd like to try to do the same kind of a thing. Now, you'll notice, I don't think it's coincidence, Sony just bought the Ericsson part of Sony Ericsson, so now they are just Sony again. This means they're probably free, or at least a lot freer, to produce the kinds of phones and even mobile platforms that they want to produce that they couldn't do before. They're going to be completely free to do that. This means to me that it's not inconceivable that we could see devices that are either Android-based that run some kind of PlayStation emulator almost on it, right? With the kind of horsepower that these phones have, I'm sure they're capable of doing it. You could even use multi-cores in doing that. The point is, guys, I think everyone's going to be running to to get ahead of that market transition, even though I think it's already started. I think what we have seen is the diminishing of the market for these handhelds with Sony and PlayStation. I think that's real. I think the mobile gaming market is taking over, and I think it's only a matter of time before the experiences delivered on mobile gaming platforms completely destroy the experiences that are available on the handheld devices / handheld networks, as it were. And I know that it's going to take a different approach. And I'm not saying Microsoft has that right, by the way, because they still have touch screens and blah, 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 blah. But remember, think about this, guys. The Galaxy Nexus that launches with Ice Cream Sandwich from Google has the capability it has a fully blown USB controller inside of it. You can take an Xbox controller from the 360, put a PC dongle on it, throw it into your Galaxy Nexus, and play any kind of game you want to with an Xbox controller. If you're on the road, that might not be practical. Just bear with me, guys. My point is, it seems to me like that is going to be the future. That thing that you carry with you is what you bring with you to do whatever you do. Mobile gaming, you bring it home. You pop it in your living room to a dock, and you plug in your controller, and you play it at home. What's so different about that? The horsepower in these devices is so significant now that it almost seems inconceivable that it wouldn't go in that direction. And that is what I think the future is. Here's the wild card. I'm going to throw this out there, and I've been talking for way too long at this point. So thank you for all of you that have bared with me in this one. We haven't had one this long in a while. But I have a theory. And if handheld gaming is going to survive, it will survive because of one particular factor, and that is the kids market. because it seems like one of the reasons why the DS continued to have longevity is because they continued to relaunch, and it would continue to be a platform for a new generation of younger kids, right? The DS Fat was still below my age level. Some of you that might have been your first gaming platform, but think about the Game Boy, or how we had the Game Boy Color, or the compact Game Boys, right? All those kinds of things that came out, or the GBA, right? All those kinds of things, the Game Boy Advance. They kept being relevant to gaming markets for kids more than they were for people that had come before it. So I'm not saying there aren't a niche of people that will always buy mobile gaming devices, handheld devices, but at a certain point, you will be the person that has an Xbox at home and doesn't have a DS, right? Because why? Why do you need one, right? And so I want you to think about that, guys. In terms of a market transition, I think we could be looking at kids as being the savior. And if that's the case, then the only one of these two companies, and we know it, you know it, I know it, everyone knows it, if kids are the future of this market in terms of refreshing every couple of years, then Nintendo is going to continue to have their stranglehold on it. And there's no other way to phrase it up. Great conversation this week, guys. Great conversation. You guys are starting to think outside that box. I love that idea. A lot of wonderful ideas coming through. Want to challenge you to keep thinking like that and keep writing those kinds of comments. They definitely challenge the way that I've been thinking about things, and help to put things in perspective. So I thank you all for that. Now, let's, because I've been talking for a very long time, let's move to the next week. I want to ask you guys a question about Thanksgiving, and instead of asking you a question about Thanksgiving, I want to ask you something kind of meta about a mockery of Thanksgiving. Some of you might have seen the episode of South Park, I think it was 2 weeks ago, that talked about Thanksgiving. It was a Thanksgiving episode, and they did an episode which basically talked about the History Channel and its telling of things like this. And if you've seen it, great. If you haven't, then I'll just kind of tell you basically what it does. It mocks the idea that the History Channel has now become kind of a pop culture BS channel, where all they do all day is throw out, aliens, conspiracy theories, reality TV, I don't know if I'm missing it, Monster Quest kind of stuff, right? That has become what the History Channel is, kind of following in the path of several before them, like Discovery, with things like Deadliest Catch, so on and so forth, right? The learning channels, all the Discovery kind of channels. Now, it makes a mockery of it by talking about Thanksgiving, because the History Channel kind of comes to this conclusion that's ridiculous, that aliens were responsible for Thanksgiving, and that's the story that really needs to be told. But, I've always thought of the History Channel as being one of my favorite channels on TV. It has always been one of my favorite top 5 channels. My remote control, which has an LCD on it where I can select channel favorites, one of them is absolutely the History Channel. But when I saw that, I found myself kind of cheering for it, because I realized that they were touching a nerve with me. Because I'm kind of a geeky kind of TV kind of guy. I like to learn a lot when I watch television. That's one of the reasons why the History Channel was my favorite. And so I wanted you to think this Thanksgiving about, maybe some of you can go watch that episode of South Park and think about this. But I want you to tell me, are you still watching the History Channel or any of these learning channels for their educational TV? Or do you go elsewhere, right? I mean, is there someplace else that you go? Well, does it serve that purpose? Is it really getting to that geeky kind of I want to learn stuff kind of niche, or are you turning to other places to find it? All right, now, I've been talking for a very long time, so thanks for bearing with me, guys. We had a great conversation today. I hope to have great conversations like this in the future. So thanks for bearing with me. Thanks for watching, as always. I am the Commodore from the Clan of the Grey Wolf, and there is no reset button.